y'all, Scott here from Art of the Genre, and today we are going to take a look at L2, The Assassin's Knot by Lakofka. This little beauty right here. This is the second one in the Lindor Isles series. It came out in 1983. I have no idea who did the cover of this, although I've wanted to know for many, many years. It is not a credited cover, and the name is actually cut off when you try to take a look at it on the front. So I have no idea, but I've always thought this was a bit of a divergence for a cover. Take a look. It's pretty neat. It doesn't really fit in anywhere with what you're seeing from that era because the artist is obviously not someone we're familiar with. But I do like it. It's a little bit different. It reminds me a little bit of some of the things that you could find on a dragon cover from that period. So who knows? But anyway, it was a different piece, and it was obviously the last piece to grace the cover of a Lindor Isle module for nearly 20 years. The interior is done by Jeff Easley. It's going to be, he'd be in his second year basically at TSR, and it's some pretty good interior work by Jeff. A couple good pieces that I really like, and there's a pretty decent amount of art in it just as is. Steve Sullivan does the maps for this one. Steve does a great job, and obviously anytime you're dealing with Len, you're going to be dealing with a lot of maps. So take a look at a couple of these. They're nice. They're going to give you a lot of stuff to work with, especially the town of Garoten, which this all takes place in. So anyway, with that lead up, let me grab my notes here and I'll take you through this rather odd adventure. It was a divergence, I think, for TSR at the time. It was one of the first times we'd ever seen an actual mystery being played out in a module. And I think that might have been one of the reasons that Lindor Isles and L3 were shelved or put into a drawer and not seen again. I can't obviously attest to that, but it is just an odd module, and it's not something that's going to be a standard dungeon crawl. It's not murder hobo friendly, and there are a lot of there's a lot of depth to it that Len is doing, but he's not giving you an overall arc of the murder mystery, as well as I think a lot of things need to be played out, because when you're dealing with a murder mystery in a module, people need to be fed these clues typically, especially when you're dealing with first edition AD&D, which is this one is set, and you have no skills. And because you have no skills, it makes it very, very difficult to interrogate people or anything like that. I'll tell you a story. The first time I played this, it's going to be sometime around 1986, I think. A DM I was not familiar with was running it, and my best friend Mark and his little brother were playing, and we're going through it, and we initially had a feeling like this might not be really built for what we're looking at as, I don't know, 14-year-old kids, and the smartest person among us was the younger brother of my friend Mark, who spent the entire adventure looking at his character sheet and saying, "What is my shieldless armor class?" And he did it the whole time. It was like an hour and a half. He just sat there trying to calculate his shieldless armor class. He's no fool. The reason he was doing that was because he knew that his character was going to die if he did anything else in this module, as my character did. First time I ever lost a character in D&D, as a matter of fact. My friend Mark's character died. I died by getting knifed, I think, and put into a horse trough outside of a tavern. So anyway, that little story is, that's what can happen to you in this one. You don't have a lot of options here, and if the DM is not really overly prepared or experienced, you're boned. If only run this if you're a very, very qualified DM, in my opinion, because you're going to have to do some changes. You're going to have to work with your characters, and on top of being a good DM, you're going to have to know that your party likes adventures like this, likes murder mysteries, and is willing to take the time and effort to go in to try to make that like Knives Out kind of adventure out of this. So with that said, we'll get into it. Obviously, it's a murder mystery. We've seen that. The Baron of Restonford has been killed. Restonford is obviously the town that was in L1, Secret of Bone Hill, that we've already done in this series. And you are hired by the wizard Pelatar to investigate this murder of the Baron. Now, it starts out bad because they've already done a speak with the dead on the Baron. Nada. They've done a raise dead on him. Doesn't work. Right there, you're already going into this adventure as a character if you know the system and going, what is this? And we're already kind of screwed, right? So that's just a weird thing. I feel like Len, when he was probably writing this, maybe ran in his own system and didn't have those spells available or didn't allow them to be available as much. But then when he had to make it full on AD&D, then it didn't translate as well. So you've got to kind of deal with that. It could be a possibility, though, that the Baron would be dead, but desecrated in some way. You could always say that, or only a piece of the body is found, so therefore, you could, without a full resurrection or something like that, you couldn't have done it. That leaves the question: is the Baron really dead? But either way, it's going to be tough. And if you do desecrate the body in some way, you're going to have to put in a weapon probably given to the main assassin in this that would do that kind of damage. And that's really dangerous as well, which is why when I look at this, I think it's listed as for levels 2 to 5. I'm really pushing 5 on this one, especially when you're talking about the end game of this. But I won't get into that just yet. Okay, there are 3 clues that are obvious red herrings, if anybody knows what they're doing at all, that are going to be in this. 3 obvious clues that were left on the body. I think that the Baron is clutching a red, a ruby. There is there's a ruby in the room, and he's clutching a red button, and then there's a golden lute string. The town had 3 people come into it the night before, between 7 and I think 10 p.m. And one was a bard with a golden lute strings. One was a guy with a vest, Abraham, the owner of a tavern in Garreton, who has a vest with red buttons, I believe. And then yes, that's true. And then the Garreton also has a cleric who has a holy symbol that has red rubies in it. And that's another thing that you're going to find in this too. There are several deities that are involved in Garreton that are not common deities that I've ever really heard of. They're not deities that are going to be Outer World of Greyhawk, where this is supposed to be set. So you're going to have to deal with probably switching out deities as well. So keep that in mind. Nevertheless, those are red herrings, but they're going to get you to Garreton, and then you can kind of hunt down the people that are in question, and they're going to tell you, I had nothing to do with this. And hopefully, some clues will come out of that. There's a timetable in this that's set up because Len loves tables, so there's going to be timetables of when things are going to happen. There is an assassin guild, obviously, in Garreton. They're very well placed, and they're kind of in cells of independent, which means most people don't even know that they're in the guild or who else is in the guild, even one person per one person. So that makes it very, very difficult to hunt down the guild itself. Nevertheless, you're going to have to go and try to hunt down these clues. Obviously, my party, when I ran through this, did not have the ability to do that, and we died. And the mayor of Garreton, whose name is Arnis, she wants to actually take over Restonford. So she is against you. She's kind of into it with the assassins. And the whole town is basically lawful evil. Most of them are. So it's hard, man. I'm not gonna paint it any other picture. It is not a great time to be there. You're not going to get a lot of stuff. I think the main cleric is senile. So what he can give you is wrong. The bard, who has the golden lute strings, wants to charge you 750 gold pieces per bit of information that he has. That's a pain in the ass. So it's just difficult. And Abraham, the guy with the red vest, who has the buttons, almost immediately, if you say anything about this to Arnis, is going to grab him, put him, and put him in the stocks, and then hang him for the death of the Baron of Restonford. So you're screwed there too. One of your main people is going to get killed, unless you get into it with them, and then all of a sudden you're into it against Arnis, which you're going to have to be anyway at the end of this. And then you're dealing with assassins who are their guards, they're caretakers of the church. I mean, they're all over the place. So again, it's really, really, really hard, especially for second level characters if you come into it being second. And there are not a lot of opportunities to get experience either, because you're not grinding. You're just going around asking people questions. There are several things that could happen to you. There's a blacksmith. Check him out. That's a great piece by Jeff Easley. He is actually lawful evil, and he's got a sword that's lawful evil, and it hates anything that's good. So it'll take him over, and then he'll attack you. While you're questioning him, I don't know if you've got a good character. And I don't know. It's tough. The only thing I want to give this thing to you is there are a lot of NPCs that, because Len fleshes everything out. He's going to throw this kitchen sink at you. You shouldn't have any questions about anybody in the town. You know, and the town is very well done. There's a lot of different places in the town. Everything is going to have an explanation. Everything is going to have a description. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities here to make even further establishment on what you had found out in Restonford and continue a campaign if you can survive this. The end game of this really is dealing with Arnis before the timetable ends up getting the Baroness of Restonford killed, and then getting the daughter of the Baron and Baroness killed, and also one other person that's kind of a token throwaway in this that had started the assassination when it's really kind of plays out that it's Arnis. You're going to have to kill find or kill the assassin, the leader of the Assassin's Guild, Tellish, who has a cloak of etherealness. That makes it super easy to catch him or figure out how he did everything. And it's a new item, actually, that was listed in this. So you didn't even, if you got this in 83, you might be screwed because you didn't even know what that was. But nevertheless, you're going to probably end up going into the evil castle of Aranis, the mayor of Garreton, and getting into a grind there. There you can get your experience, but by this point you've probably been worn down, or you didn't get any up to this, and you're going to get killed by the orcs and the ogres and anything else that's in this. Blah. So I'm going to give this a side thumb because it's got a lot of possibilities, but as is, you're probably going to get your ass kicked, and that's no fun for anybody, and the party has to be very, very willing to do a murder mystery. So, I like it. Nevertheless, I think it's got great possibilities, and it gives you a really, really, really good description of another town in the Lindor Isles if you're setting your campaign there. That's a bonus. And a lot of cool NPCs. Most of them are evil, but nevertheless, it doesn't make them not any less cool. So that is all I really have to say about L2, the Assassin's Knot. Be very, very careful if you are running this. Be very, very careful if you are playing in it, because it is a bitch. But such is life. That happens sometimes in D&D. So again, that might be why you never got to see L3 until it was thrown at you 25 years later. But whatever the case, that's my review of this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you really will take a chance to play it because it's different. And if you put enough time into it, I think you can have a great deal of fun with it. So anyway, please subscribe. Please hit notifications if you can. We didn't get 125 members yet, but we are closing in on it. So hopefully we'll see that happen this week. And otherwise, great gaming.